Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this evening out of the stairwell in Texas with Anthony of Empty Heaven. Thank you so much for joining us from your little escape at the moment.
Yeah, I actually, it was my one stipulation coming into work today. I was like, I will come, but you have to let me podcast from the stairwell, which it was an easy demand to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully none of them had too many concerning questions or like berated you. Just been like, whatever, you're here. Thanks, dude.
Oh yeah. I mean, at this point, so, you know, it's a job that involves live music, and you can imagine everyone was pretty jazzed for it to happen post COVID-19. But availability is limited, so every day is a wild schedule ride.
True. Very true.
You know, everyone's very curious about the inner workings of my professional life.
We'll ask some of that. Let me let you introduce yourself, introduce the band, talk to us about, you know, the origins and the story about you, and we'll get to talking about all that other interesting stuff from there.
Yes, my name is Anthony. I'm the name of my project is Empty Heaven. It's a very insular project. It's informed by a lot of emo and pop punk from the past, but I don't know if it fully sounds like any of it, which I guess is a good thing. The format of it being a band is relatively new. I do it with my wife and with 4 people I met in town. I've been playing music for what feels like 10,000 years, and but mainly piano. So my job is that I play covers of other people's songs.
Yeah.
At a place. I don't know if I should give free advertising to my piano club.
Yeah, maybe not.
But it's a request-based place, and it creates, you know, the logos that used to guide everything I did. Was doing songs that I thought would break through and be successful, and they never did. And now the wonderful thing is there's a dichotomy in my life where I get to play very, very successful music, and then get to kind of do very strange, lonely sounding music in my house that has no real aspirations to success. And that has been a very freeing experience. So yeah, Empty Heaven, the band, it's a band now, is, how do I put this? Am I allowed to like just expound upon it?
Just expound. Go for it.
Yes.
Okay, here I am expounding.
Expound.
Watch me expound. It's I've been asked to describe what the genre is, and I call it it's kind of just like neurotic lo-fi punk and indie rock music. And the goal is to try to go in with nothing in mind, which often means filtering in like 10 different influences. And it is trying to synthesize spirituality and philosophy and science, and try and make music that's relatively catchy while doing whatever I want. And that's what Empty Heaven is.
Yeah. I mean, listening to some of it, like I saw some of your previews for your singles, and I saw a lot of vaporwave. I was like, oh, is this vaporwave? But when I clicked on it and like listened to it, I'm like, this isn't vaporwave. This sounds a little bit more like crunchy grunge to me. So I was like, oh, okay, like definitely vibe with it. It's definitely like, if you look at it, you're going to get something probably different, because I know I have friends who are into vaporwave or something that's more kind of like, you know, electro sounding, and I'm like, I think they would be thrown off, but I think it's good because it's like really different.
Thank you. That's interesting. Vaporwave. I've never fooled anybody into thinking I was vaporwave. But I did, you know, when a lot of that stuff was first coming up in the early 2010s, I did like it very much. Mostly because I like that it kind of, and a style of electronic music called hauntology. Have you ever heard of that? It's
I don't think so.
No. Yeah.
It's very similar. It's more of an English take on vaporwave. Because I feel like vaporwave was really trying to play on misplaced nostalgia, you know, and in England, everything has that really overcast feel to it.
Yeah.
Like everything's 10% sadder, you know, in England. And their version of vaporwave, which I guess I'll call hauntology, well, that's what they call it. A good example is early dubstep, like Burial and stuff, is really, it's like nostalgia for old library technology and just stuff. It's very strange. It's really strange. I guess maybe the color palette might have given it a vaporwavy feel.
Yeah, I can see
what the Empty Heaven stuff is doing.
Yeah, funny enough, I had heard you because you had done a track with a very good friend of mine, Jordan, or Eject. Goes by Eject.
Yes. One of my heroes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people in the whole world.
So he and I used to play in a band together. We've been friends for a long time, and he's just stupid talented. Like, he's the kind of person where you're just really annoyed that he's that good, and he's a fantastic live performer, and he has this ability to just produce music. So when I saw that he produced a song for you, and like I saw that it was posted, I was like, yeah, I got to finally check it out, because he needs to post more. He needs to be posting a lot more music than he is, because he's really talented.
I'm sick of him. I'm sick of Jordan, because you're right. It is. I've never known anyone to be so prolific and to be so understated about the quality of his work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a male model.
Yes. I mean,
yes.
Yes.
And he never discusses.
No.
It makes me so angry.
No, he's infuriating.
What was your band with Jordan?
Oh, it was my.
Here we go.
Yeah, I know. We did an emo cover, emo tribute band. That like we needed a new bassist. We asked him to join. And then he was just like outshining all of us, and it was really good. Like, obviously, like, everybody was enjoying it as the audience, and I felt very very good playing with him, because he also just picks up a song like, hey man, we need you to, you know, probably the same as like when you're at a piano bar. It's just like, I need to just know all these songs. So he just like can pull it out, and he's just playing Black Parade within a week, and it's like, well, how did you know how to play this already? Like.
It really, you know, I know I sound irked because I am bitchly sick. And he is a guy. So I went to a middle school that was a block away from his middle school. I went to the Catholic one. He went to the public one.
Okay.
And they were scouting around my Catholic school to see if anyone was good at music to join the school band. And we played in his 7th grade jazz band together. I played guitar, he played bass, and I just followed his life through social media. He's always been objectively cooler than I am. And then I was doing this series of collaborations with him, with people with the Empty Heaven project, and immediately picked him. So all of those collaborations were really fun to do, but they all had their own strange inner workings. I would usually come and bring a track to the table, and they would write over it, or they would do something, add something. Jordan, for everyone who's like, why the hell are you talking about this guy named Jordan so much? The project is called Eject, and he needs to post more, as Brian said. So I'm like, hey man, we should work together. He immediately sends me 5 full instrumental songs, and just goes, pick one.
Yep.
I'm going to say this right now. So for the viewer, that song that we did together is called Private Room. And the 3 of the 4 collaborations, I'm going to be weirdly self-effacing about the success of my streaming life.
Go for it.
3 out of the 4 are doing excellent, like better than I ever expected. Private Room is a banger, and barely anyone has heard it.
Huh.
And I don't understand.
It's because it knows that Jordan wants to continue to be understated. They said, you know what,
Yeah.
it's a banger, but it's only a banger for certain people.
Banger for a selected VIP section.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that song. That's my wife's favorite of the FBI track. And I had the least to do with it.
Yeah.
But it is, I love that song. And happy you know Jordan. He's a fucking genius. I can cuss, right? Is that a thing I can do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're all good.
Okay. He's literally just he's probably sitting on like hours of just unreleased, hours of beats, hours of tracks that are full produced, like fully done. He's just sitting on them. He's just ready to go. And I'm like, dude, let the people know, let the people hear him.
We can talk about Jordan for the whole.
I know, and I'm gonna stop because he's gonna hear this and he's gonna be like, "Hey, man." You're gonna text Jordan and be like, "Hey, guess what? We just praised you for like a good 10-15 minutes." And he's gonna be like, "Why'd you do that?" I should have texted him before we did this, so he would be like checking it out. But well, I'll just send him the pod when we do it. So where did the idea of doing it as like collaborations then like come in? Like, what was the thought of like not just doing it as yourself, but also having like a bunch of different people work on different tracks with you?
Good question. So there's kind of a whole long arc to the series of singles before the record comes out. Because I liken, there's about to be, by the way, loaded with pretense, so just preemptively forgive me.
Musicians are supposed to be filled with pretense. It's totally fine.
I'm cringe, but I'm free.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Do what I want. But the whole idea is to liken Empty Heaven to a place, and I liken it to one of three spheres that I see music in, and the main one, the central one, is often filled with people that, and I don't think this is an innately bad thing, filled with a lot of people who don't really have a pressing love for music, and that is often, that I guess would be the sphere of everything that you'd hear just walking around. Like if you weren't actively trying to listen to music, it's everything you'd hear on terrestrial radio, it's everything you would hear on, a very play by the numbers playlist, on Spotify, something like that. And the people who engage with that are not typically trying to look at music on a very, very level. And that's fine. That's not, look at my job. I don't have a beef with that universe.
Sure.
Then, by that big sphere are two smaller spheres. One is a community of people, and this is in all very insular and very closely guarded music scenes, right? They're not connected by a series of gates and often occasionally obnoxious gatekeepers. But a lot of these people have felt purged by that bigger circle and would kind of rather not engage with the bigger circle, and kind of be their own insulated community. The other world are people who are operating from an outsider perspective and want to engage with the larger circle, but on their own terms and on their own level without fully immersing themselves in the community. And I've been wanting to experiment with that for some time. So my idea was to attempt to collaborate with very disparate artists. I never know how to really pronounce the word.
Sure.
Disparate.
Desperate artists.
Desperate artists.
Desperate artists.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like very.
You have to add flair to it. You have to add flair to it, make it less sad sounding.
Yeah, exactly. But people that are in very different music worlds than I am, and see what would happen if we engaged, if we collaborated and interfaced and came out with something like a finished product. And I wanted to collaborate with four very different people. One is I Am Hill, who's a R&B singer from Canada. One is Jenny Lawless, very old friend of mine, who's kind of I don't know what I'd call her. I think it's like kind of a St. Vincent meets Radiohead situation out of Los Angeles. Very idiosyncratic, cool artist. And then Jordan Eject, who's sort of like this future, I don't know, kind of this hip hop, funk, punk person, a producer, basically. And then the Field Tapes, who's in the ambient, lo-fi beats universe, for whatever you want to call it. And what would happen if whatever I do on my own in my house reaches out, I reach my bandwidth out to connect with their stations and see what we can share with the world. So that's where the idea came from, sort of part of that process and part of that art. And I had a lot of fun.
Lizzie.
No, it sounds really fun listening through your album that's coming out on the 9th of July. It's like, knowing that there's like a collaboration and then this like really deeper idea out of it too. I feel like there are people who just obviously they're in a band or they're in a project and they want to put out something, but I feel like you really like sat and you thought about it and you simmered with it, and then you like brought it to a boil, and then you added like bay leaves into it, and then you let it simmer for a little bit, and then you said, okay, there's still more to add to it.
Did you say bleep bleeps?
And that's
Bay leaves?
No, bay leaves.
You're cooking a stew, man.
Yeah, you're cooking like a very eccentric stew, which is great, because even like reading what you have on your Bandcamp of like your bio, it reads more of kind of like an epic tale where you're like, this is what it is. And like, this is like my thought process and my reasoning behind it, which I thought was so interesting, rather than just being like, it's me doing this. Okay, bye. Finger guns on the way out.
Yeah, I don't, I used to envy people who could play it real cool and just like kind of live, I don't know, not have a very complicated relationship with music. I think that is ideal. If someone is able to do that and live a life off of that, this sounds very condescending. It's not. I mean it like, because that's the ideal, to just be able to like be like, hey man, here's some fucking music. It's chill. Here it is. I'm here. Goodbye. And then live their life. Who wouldn't want to be that person? And I always chastise myself for wanting to be really heady and kind of navel gazing about it. I thought it was innately uncool because I also grew up listening to a lot of progressive rock music, and that is famously uncool.
Yeah.
And as I get older and it becomes harder to give a shit about a lot of things, I really was just like, what if I just leaned into it, and dropped any shame about it, and was just kind of like, I'm going to make this as heavy as I want it to be, because that's all my favorite shit is like that, If somebody has, I remember when I was young, I was playing a Super Nintendo game called Rise of the Robots. It's not a good game, right? It's a bad fighting game where you are facing 5 robots. It's a short game.
Yeah.
And it's pretty bad. But the game featured the longest instruction booklet I've ever seen, because like 20 pages of it were story. Like story about these 5 robots. And in the game, there's no cutscenes. Yeah. There's no nothing. They show the robot approaching, and then you fight the robot.
They're like, you don't need backstory. You can read that. You have to put it all together.
And so when I found that instruction booklet, I felt like I found nerd heaven. I was just like, oh my God, there's lore. And it was good. They used the term AI a lot. I got really excited. And I wanted to sort of recreate this experience where if you found Empty Heaven and you pick up what it's putting down, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff. You know, you will never be. I guess this is my biggest advertising pitch. Is you will never be starved for content.
There will be something there. You
can throw that out to any marketer or advertiser, and they will immediately pick you up because you're talking our language,
talking about content.
Yeah, I'm like, I got shit. I got stuff for you. You know, who will like it? God knows, but there's enough to try and figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you liked the stew. What do you think of the album?
I think it was a pretty solid album. It was definitely different. It made me feel more kind of like garage rocky, which I know here in Chicago, we may have a pretty decent pop punk scene, but we also have a pretty good indie garage rock scene as well, with a little bit of psych thrown in there. And it definitely gave me that vibe. I personally haven't listened to too much of that since COVID happened. But I like listening to that type of stuff again. I'm like, oh, it made me feel kind of nostalgic. Oh, I should go listen to Post Animal again because it's been a hot minute since I've done it.
Oh yeah, you know, I know there was a DIY venue out there called Animal Kingdom that only existed for a fleeting moment. This was in 2015, and all the cool bands in tie-dye shirts were covered. This was when Mac DeMarco really took off, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody a little bit really wanted to be like Mac DeMarco.
I had a lot of friends who were like that, and I was like, are you sure?
Was never really my scene, but there is a lot of that stuff, especially when it got more adventurous, that I really enjoyed. And a lot of the classic stuff that was in that world is stuff I grew up with, and everybody who I ever thought was really cool loved that kind of shit. It was and would hit me to it. And it all made me super happy. It all felt very carefree, especially the really surfy stuff. It was the kind of stuff that I've always been really envious about, because it was always just about wanting to have fun and smoke weed.
I saw this.
If there was, oh, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I saw this Pitchfork. It was a tweet aiming at Pitchfork, and it was Pitchfork made everybody think that pop music is so deep and profound when it's really just I just want to go out and not think anything had empty energy. And I was like, yeah, I was a little bit, but then you hear the poppy indie surf rock stuff, like the Walters, for example. They were.
Oh my God,
I love the Walters. Oh, you know that.
That's so funny. Yeah, they're from Elmhurst Park
they're in Chicago. They were in Chicago.
Really? Oh shoot. Okay. Trying to think. I might be thinking of a different band. Maybe the Smith Westerns was from Elmhurst.
Smith Westerns I've heard of.
Yeah, I've heard of. They might be around from here. That sounds familiar.
That suburb versus city thing where it's oh, we're from Chicago. We're from Skokie. It's no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not from Chicago.
I love it. You know, it's funny you mentioned the kind of optimism of a lot of critics, because that's been something that's been on my mind a lot lately. Because I feel how do I put this? I remember when that was really in full swing. You know, you guys as broadcasters, and I assume critics in your own right, must have kind of, engaged with this stuff a lot. And I've noticed a lot of people really backlashing against it, that kind of mentality that was huge throughout the 2010s. And I gotta say, as much as I still didn't love a lot of pop music during that time, I think it was really an earnest attempt. I really think people were, I don't know, and some of my favorite pop music is actually being made now.
Yeah.
At this very second, as optimism is kind of waning. And I have no beef with the idea. A lot of pop music makes you very sad, because a lot of it seems to be about being addicted to pills and really wanting to kill yourself. And it really makes me feel a kind of deep dread that that's what's in the main sphere of things. It makes me really worry about young people. Not as in like, oh, music is so awful these days. Like, no, it's a deep concern.
Yeah.
You know, I liked Juice WRLD.
Yeah, like Juice WRLD quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have you heard the Juice WRLD song "Legends"?
I think so. I haven't listened to much since he.
I feel like I've probably heard it because my siblings really like Juice WRLD. They saw him a couple times out here in Chicago. And like, so I always hear it. I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm pretty sure I've heard it in some capacity.
It's really something. And you know, when a person with a billion people who love his music says, "What's the 27 club? We're not making it past 21." I really, you know, I cry in my car when I hear something like that, because it gives me very little hope, because a lot of these people are very in pain, and their pain is making them a lot of money. So why not exacerbate it and prolong it? It really raises a confusing, a lot of questions about the artist and the fan relationship. You know, it's very painful.
Yeah, I've always kind of questioned whether, obviously, we as fans and oftentimes artists are like, this is our chance to say my story and to talk about myself and to tell the things that I know. And so obviously, like, a lot of artists are those types of people where it's like, I've dealt with this and I'm trying to put it into music and I'm trying to help people. But I also feel like there's a lot of people that are listening to the music on the other side of it, like, needing that help, and now they're hearing it in sort of a glorified way where it's like, maybe that's not the best way to do it. Maybe we should like turn it around and not like make it, I don't know. I know a lot of it is like very like self-deprecating in a way. Like, I know that it's not like I'm trying to glorify this. I feel bad about myself doing it, and I feel bad about what I've done, and I want to change. But it's also like, with everybody who has died of like drug overdoses or suicide from these like all these artists that have written that and then have done it, I'm like, but isn't that kind of glorification? Because now we're like putting you on a pedestal because you're gone. Like, kind of weird.
Yeah, you make a compelling point. It really, it's frustrating. I think the lines got blurred somewhere, and I really wish it didn't have to be this way. I think it speaks to a larger kind of psychic infection, you know, for the culture at large. I think I don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary when I say a lot of people are very depressed.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. That's kind of why we're all here, I guess, as musicians and
yeah,
doing
we're all
our
here.
best.
We were at one point, we all were, but here we are.
Yeah.
Still.
Like, there's some cultural thing about like anxiety and depression that brought a lot of people together into a community that it's like, hey, we all need each other because this shit sucks.
and it's, yes, and it's very sad because that's a beautiful and noble idea. But it often reminds. So I'm a straight edge person, and that's been a very bizarre part of my life because the few times I've gone to see straight edge like hardcore shows. Also, Lizzie, your videos really make me laugh. Where you do the real emo copy paste.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're very funny.
Yeah.
I love them. But you know, one of my favorite bands growing up was Minor Threat, and they're kind of contemporaries. That's what got me, of course, into straight edge culture and stuff. But I never really gravitated towards that universe fully because I always really felt like an island of a guy because everything turned me off a little bit. I thought maybe I was a little too picky, but maybe scenes are inherently not perfect, you know. And the straight edge scene, a lot of people come to straight edge because of trauma, and trauma. Once again, not anything revolutionary here, will attract a lot of broken people who sometimes will be you get a lot of real tough guys in the straight edge and hardcore universe. And a lot of those people are very broken. And it's sad. You know how they got there, but it's still a very unhappy thing. And then you hear about fights and stuff. And I'm like, look, I know everybody was brought here for the same reason, but is anybody surprised? About what it's like when a bunch of hurting people all come into a thing. So anyway, that's a very strange community. It's the straight edge world.
Oh no, I was about to say I used to be into that when I was in high school, and I didn't really know any other kids like that. But actually, like within the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've seen so many people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm straight edge," and like they're younger than me, and I'm like, "Where were you? Where were you? I haven't seen you." Because I got crapped on for it, and then I always saw like the negative connotations of like, oh, if you're gonna go here, you're probably like this like asshole who's gonna just kick the shit out of people and be like super judgmental. But like what you said too is like basically like them projecting and like having trauma they haven't dealt with and just like taking it out on other people. Like that makes so much sense to me that I like never thought about it.
It's very painful, and you wish it wasn't so. And I think this is true everywhere. And the problem is there's no money in straight edge. When there's money put into the equation, there's and you get these pop stars. I look at Post Malone being sponsored by Bud Light, and I'm like, is there anything more poetic? Like, maybe nothing, And tonight, I'm going to sing his songs, and it's going to make me feel very strange because I'm not even really a fan, and I worry about that. I worry about these people. I worry about one person who I think is particular. What are you guys' takes on Billie Eilish? I think she's particularly cool.
Billie
in
Eilish.
that world.
Huge fan of Billie Eilish.
Yeah, I like her. I know that there's been a big thing lately where I didn't really fully understand it. But somebody had like accused her of queer baiting, and then she was like spotted out like dating some dude who's like almost 30 years old, and she's like barely just turned like 19, 18. And like I started seeing that. I'm like, that's not great. That's very bad, and like I'd be worried for her in that retrospect, I feel. Just because like she's like so in like the public spotlight, and like obviously we've seen like her issue where she's like, I don't wear tight clothes because people sexualize me, and then she did that one magazine cover where it wasn't tighter clothes, and then people were like upset with her, and I know that there's been like a lot of commentary about it saying like, well, what do you want, like you can't take it or leave it. I just feel like she's somebody who would kind of have not like a downward spiral, but I think something unfortunately negative may occur to her because of like everything that's going on with how people perceive her and like want her to be perceived.
I agree, and I pray not. I really worry because I think out of all the people who are kind of on her level stardom, I really like her voice. I really like the lyrics. I really like her and her brother's production together. And I don't know. I think it's really good, and I really hope that the industry doesn't. Oh, sorry. Can you still see me?
Yeah, you're still there.
Oh. Yeah,
okay.
We're good.
I really hope that the industry doesn't consume and mutate what she does personally and dictate what she does. Because for a second, I'm just sort of like, man, this is really an inkling of something interesting. I'm 29 and white, so my favorite band is Radiohead. And Tom York gave her a cosign recently. It was just like, yeah, Billie Eilish is fucking cool. And I'm like, you're goddamn right, man. There's something going on there.
Yeah.
By the way, it didn't take Tom York telling me.
Yeah.
I feel the need. Yeah.
Here's the thing though. It took some people to have Tom York giving the Billie Eilish okay to get them into it. And that's not you, that's not Brian, that's not me. So listen, we're all good here. We're all chill. We're not that
big time. I thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I was going to ask you guys, especially because I organically got into it with Radiohead. It's interesting because this is the emo social club, and somehow I'm here. And I guess I guess my question is, what are your two favorite bands of all time? If you had to pick. Kind of a boring question, but I don't know how many people flip it back.
No, I mean it is a pretty
only a handful of people I
Yeah.
think have flipped it back like that.
I'm gonna tell you a quick little story. We have to end the pod a little bit early, so I'm just gonna tell it very quickly, and then we'll do like plugs and all that. But
do it like you only have a minute on TikTok.
I only got a minute on TikTok. I went to a bar recently because it's opening back up. I'm at this bar, and the last thing I want to do is interact with people I don't know. I wanted to hang out with my friends. I go inside. I go to the bathroom. I'm walking out. I'm wearing a jacket that says emo night on it. And so this guy stops me and goes, "Hey, man." And I walk over, and I'm wearing a mask, of course, because I'm just I don't want to be bothered at all. And I was hoping it would work. It didn't. He's like, "What's your favorite band?" And I look at him as though this man has asked me the hardest question in the world. And I was like, "Dude, fuck that. Fuck you. Fuck all this. I'm out of here." But I just told him I guess My Chemical Romance, kind of what he wanted me to say. But I also was just why are you talking to me? I don't know you about music. And he may have been completely legitimate. He may have just been look, we're back out in the world. I haven't talked to people in a long time. I just wanted to engage with you. Maybe we shared a common band. And I was just no fucking thank you. But I was asked that question recently by a man at a bar that I very much didn't want to talk to. And I said My Chemical Romance, but I also think that AFI would be probably one of my top. And Panic at the Disco.
AFI.
Yeah.
They're I didn't grow up listening to AFI. They're always, when they were doing hardcore punk stuff, they were always sort of outside of my sphere. I think it was a little too horror punk for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then somebody showed me, my first girlfriend ever put the Leaving Song Part 2 on a mix CD for me.
Yep.
And that shit bumped in the whip.
Yep.
I was like, I love this. This is sick. And I still think I'm not a certified big AFI fan, but that record, the one right before December Underground, the one with the Leaving Song Part 2.
Yeah, Sing the Sorrow.
Sing the Sorrow. That's the name of it. It's escaping me. Really good. Really, that was my favorite. That's the closest they got to being maybe one of my favorite emo bands was Thursday.
Mm.
And I really like that. What about you guys?
I would say Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, and Jonas Brothers.
Word. What do you think about the Jonas Brothers' return?
I went to all 3 nights here in Chicago. I'm going to Summerfest. I'm trying to get some more tickets through my work for the Chicago date. I have met them. Yeah. Yes, I have met them. I have a signed couch from IKEA, thanks to Radio Disney, my brother keeps in his room. I've seen them around 15, 16 times. They were a pop punk band. They came back and now they're poppy and it's fine.
What's your favorite Joe Bro song?
Probably Inseparable off of their self-titled, or I Am What I Am from their very first album, It's About Time.
Wow, I Am What I Am. That's a deep cut from the Joe Bro.
It is a deep cut. It was one of the first ones I heard of them too. I think I was 7.
Do they come up on this podcast a lot?
Because of Lizzie,
only because I do. Yes, just because of me.
God bless you. Yeah, they're interesting. They're it's funny because a lot of the pop music that Disney had a hand in, I did not love, but they're the one that just has retained this fandom, this love. They are my generation's Hanson brothers, which my older sister, that was her favorite name. And Hanson have some bangers. They're good. But Fall Out Boy, wow. Yeah, see, that was all the pop punk I like. I have one pop punk band I really liked growing up, and that was Say Anything.
Mm.
And Fall Out Boy, I think I missed the boat. I didn't get into the Take This to Your Grave, the awesome shit. I heard that when I was 25.
Yep.
And so you can imagine I was able to be oh, this is good. But I don't know if this hit me at a formative enough time period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come up with them. I'm now thinking of my favorite emo bands, which I'm sure is something that every guest eventually has to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Be asked, I guess. Say Anything is probably big time. I appreciate that they just went off the rails.
Mhm.
I stay listening to their new releases. It's crazy.
Huh.
If a new Say Anything album comes out, I'm listening to it day up. Just because I know it's going to be bonkers. Like, it's going to be authentically bizarre.
Yeah.
You know? And he's a cute dad. Married the gal from Isley and had kids with her, and they seem like a sweet family. Thursday, and God, I'm worried. I'm terrified about sounding like the real emo. Copy paste it now.
I don't think you can. I think it's hard
okay.
to get there.
It depends on who you're talking to, because we can say, oh, we're real emo. Then there's going to be some like 40-year-old dude who doesn't leave his house who's like, that's not real emo. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to fight you because I can beat you.
Talk to me. Find me on the street.
Fuck you. Terrible. Oh, I will. There's a Canadian band from forever called Boys Night Out.
Yeah, I remember Boys Night Out.
Yeah, I saw them on like Fuse.
Yeah.
Love it.
Young.
We love Fuse.
We love Fuse. I saw that they had a music video on demand. On Fuse on demand. Got it.
It's different.
What a time.
Loved it to death. Anyway, that's my favorite one.
Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes left. I want to make sure we have time and we get all your plugs in there where everybody can find the music, find you. I know the band is mysterious, so it's all going to be Empty Heaven stuff. So where can everybody find the Empty Heaven information on the internet?
Well, the problem is I didn't realize there's a song by a band called August Burns Red named Empty Heaven.
Oh.
And that kind of fucked up a lot of my. And I looked into them. They're kind of like a deathcore band or whatever. And they
like Christian metalcore.
Yeah, and that is
that
not
what
the
it is?
vibe you want.
Oh, I left out a band in my favorite emo. You know what it is? Me Without You.
Me Without You. Okay.
Oh,
I
have a friend who's really into Me Without You. He's super
they're
into
that
it.
kind of band. They're that kind of band.
Yeah.
You just get immersed. I love them. They're in my top 10 of all time. I love them a lot.
Yeah.
So the problem is, August Burns Red took a lot of my social media username making. Because I guess kids love that fucking band. So, watching DMing some 17-year-old, like, please, I'll pay you $100. Give me that username.
Yeah.
But no, it's on Instagram at _empty heaven _ like it's Sangha or something. Twitter is the exact opposite. It's empty _heaven. You know, because I live to confuse.
Yeah.
And I recently I've uploaded my consciousness onto TikTok.com, and I'm putting that's empty heaven excuse me, fuck me, it's empty _heaven. Look it up, you'll find it. But if people like what is there and the imagery that's associated with it, songs that exist right now, you will like the record. And I'm working on LP2, and LP2 is, I'm describing something that's going to come out a year and change. And it's going to sound better because everything on Getting the Blues was done in my house on like an 8-track. No computers, because I have a fear and I suck. But Getting the Blues is the album, and that comes out. And that's it's not a blues album, if people are confused. It's about the idea of understanding or of receiving sadness and not understanding its origins. Hence getting the blues, but not getting it. Mm-hmm. For those interested in the minutia of the content. Oh God, it's I'm very proud of it. There's a lot going on, and it's like what Lizzie said. If anyone's interested in the more in the finer points of the record, there's not only a description of it on the Bandcamp, but there's also a book for sale that is hands down the least selling pre-order I have. And I understand. I get that. But that's the point, is if you want that kind of richer experience with the content, it is available. If you don't, the music is available. And I've stopped trying to force people to become interested. It's basically, if you want the finer points, they're available. Is there anything else that should be plugging?
I mean, look, we can get
whatever you need to. That is fine.
We gotta get 1 million copies of this book sold, so we're gonna get everybody on that. 1 million pre-orders. Break the website.
Penguin Classics is interested. It's gonna be good. No, follow me on Instagram. It's mostly both recommendations and like me talking about music a lot, and pictures of my chickens, pictures of my dog. I'm doing like an amateur homesteading situation with my wife. And if you, it's because what Empty Heaven is about 100% self-sustainability. And if you're interested in it, I encourage you. There's a lot. If you like the little you've heard, there is a lot.
Perfect. Well, we will we'll say thank you there, because it's time. I don't want to take
it's
more.
8:20 on the dot.
I have to go play.
It's that time. You got to go be piano man.
Be piano man. Well,
I will be playing that.
Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being on. Empty Heaven is the band. Go check it out, and we'll see you again real soon, I'm sure.
I really appreciate the both of you. Thank you, and Alex.
Absolutely.